Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Mizzone Pellegrini, and I'm excited to do this recording for you today. What this recording is going to be about is focusing on resumes and artist statements. So thank you to CTG for having me. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I moved out here in 2001. And I went to grad school at UCLA to get my MFA in acting. Once I graduated there, I did a lot of theater in town and primarily worked a lot at the Actors Gang in Culver City, where I spent many years on stage. And then I'm currently the one of the performing faculty here at East Los Angeles College. That's where I'm at right now. So I primarily teach their voice and movement classes at ELAC, and I direct every year as well. But I'm also a working actor. So I am updating my resume and my artist statement all the time. And it's definitely a skill and something, a tool that we all need if we want to work. We need a resume. So let's get to it. I actually go over this with my students a lot at ELAC. And when we first start talking about resumes, everyone's like, oh, I don't have enough to put on there. And I don't know what to put on. I've got nothing. And I'm always like, let's take a breath and just brainstorm a little bit, okay, about all the different things that I'm sure you can put on this resume. Okay, first, we all have a name. Okay, so we can always start with our name and our contact information. So I would say just get out a piece of paper and start jotting things down that you want to include on your resume. Now, here's the thing. Acting resumes, directing resumes, designer resumes, they look different than the resume that you might have to get, a job, a different kind of job. Like, when I was a waitress for many, many years, my resume looked very different. Okay, it was a little bit more of that traditional, my objective to obtain a waitering position at blah, 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 blah. And then I would have more sentences that explained what I did, what my duties were. Acting resumes, directing resumes, designer resumes, and a lot of production looks differently because of the formatting. So, I've been doing this for a long time in this business, but one thing that really, there have been a ton of changes, thankfully, but one thing that really hasn't changed is what the structure of the resume looks like. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. But I would say start with a piece of paper and write down things that you think can fit on that resume. So let's go through it. I've got this PowerPoint. Let's see if this actually works though. Hold on one second. I'm going to share. Here we go. And I'm going to just give me a second to start it. Play from start. Ooh. Okay, resumes and artist statements with how does this sound? Vanessa Mizzone Pellegrini. That's me. So we were talking about names. Names are really important. And you should be proud of your name, and your name needs to be on your resume. So an interesting thing you'll notice is my teaching name is Vanessa Mizzone Pellegrini. That's my name when I'm teaching or doing workshops like this. But my actor name and my union name is Vanessa Mizzone. So first, decide what name is going to be on your resume, and it should be the name that you want to be consistent with for, jobs. So categories. There's going to be categories that you can organize your information in. Name and contact info. Okay, so and I've got a lot of examples that I'm going to show you, so don't worry. And you could always pause and jot some things down. So your name and contact info. You want your name pretty big on the resume. So, mine looks something like this, where I have it, nice and center, not center, but off center. But when I was starting out, I actually had it right in the middle of my resume, right at the top, a nice font, because that's the most important thing, is your name. Then your contact information. This is important. And there are lots of different opinions on this. Okay. I know that some people say, if you have an agent, it should just be your agent's contact information and your manager's contact information. But then a lot of people say, no, I also want to have my direct contact info on there. So that is up to you. Definitely, if you don't have representation, you need to have your phone number and an email. And I would say an email that you check all the time, but also an email that is not too complicated. If it's, mine is my name. So it just helps when people are like, oh, I got to email Vanessa, and they start to email, my name might come up, my email might come up because it's close to my name or something that's easy-ish to connect with me. I know we might have all these like kind of student ones perhaps, or one that, it's like cool cat. I don't know, something like that. But you want to think about a professional email to go with your resume and something that you're going to check all the time. Your phone number, important. Your email, super important, like I said. But one thing you're not going to have is your address. Okay, for these particular resumes and especially actors, where we are sending our resume out to everywhere, right? Electronically, in the mail, everything. We're dropping them off at auditions. We don't want to have our address on it because we want to be safe and not have it out there for people to show up at our door. So that's one thing. So take off your address, okay? You want to have social media handles, okay? Or your website address, if that is something that you do. For instance, I don't have my social media handle on my resume because I don't really use it for business purposes, and I'm not really good about it. I've got pictures of like my dog and my kids. I don't know if anyone really wants to see that besides my friends, but social media is a big thing. So if you are active, and I know a lot of people who get work and network a lot on social media, so you want to have your social media handles and website on there if you have a website. So start jotting that down on that piece of paper that you took out. What are your handles, whether it's TikTok or Instagram? Unions and representation. So if you do have an agent, you want to put their contact and name, and some of them will have you put their logo on it, and they'll let you know. And if you don't have a representation, don't say independent. If you don't have an agent or manager on there, we know you're independent, okay? So you don't have to say it. Same thing with unions. If you are in Screen Actors Guild, put SAG-AFTRA down there. If you are in equity, some people write it as AEA and some people write it as equity. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. But if you're not in a union, you don't have to write non-union. We know. If you were in one, you'd have it on there. And don't be nervous or embarrassed about that. This is where you're at in your career, okay? And your resume is going to continue to grow and going to continue to, you're going to have to start deleting stuff after a while. Yes, unions. Another thing I was going to say about, if you're SAG eligible or an EMC candidate, write that down there. That's really cool because people can say, they're SAG eligible, they could join the union. So all that info you want to have on there. Education and training. This is important, okay, to have on there. So you start with the most recent. So if you just graduated from college, you'd have that up there first. And then you don't have to put high school, but listen, if you are right out of high school, put your high school on there, okay? It's been a minute since I've been in high school, so I don't have it on there. But if you have college, put the college on there for sure. If you didn't get a degree necessarily, that's okay. Or if you're in the middle of your degree, you can write currently enrolled, and I'll show you different examples of that as well. Training, different classes that you took in town or out of town, you want to list those too. So add that to this piece of paper that you're writing, okay? Any classes you took. you might have to go back and do some research. Who is that teacher that I took that class with? You know what I mean? So, so you want those names, okay? And then we're going to have categories such as theater, film, television, theme parks, voiceover, new media, commercials, okay? Whether you're, designers are going to be designing across different mediums. Stage managers too, across, you might be stage managing a theater show, but then you might also be stage managing a live event. You might be stage managing at theme parks. So these categories really help. And I would say you want to have a lot of pokes and a lot of fire. So as a working actor, artist, designer, you're going to be going out for a lot of different types of jobs. So you want a resume that reflects that. Now, you can always adjust your resume depending on the particular job you're going for and applying for, but this is a template we're starting with right now. Skills. You could start writing down skills. For those designers in the watching this, are there particular programs that are important for your design to design? Like, is it Vectorworks? Is it Avid? What is it that you need, and that you can in your resume explain that you have? For actors, different kind of like specialty skills, like, are you, did you play college soccer? What's your position? Do you sing? What's your range? Are you an alto? Are you a soprano? If you're a singer, you know that, right? Dialects, things like that. And we're gonna go through this, but just start to brainstorm. Languages. I think languages are important on everyone's resume. It's amazing if you know more than one language. So put that on there. If you're bilingual, put that, that's really cool. And it's going to help you get a job. If you're trilingual, I mean, if you took a semester at college, you're not, I wouldn't put on your resume, but if you can carry on a conversation in a different language, if you could read a script in a different language and act in a different language, if you can direct in a different language, that's when you want to put it on your resume. Honors and awards, okay? Any kind of awards that you might have gotten throughout your years, okay? It could be anything from maybe an Irene Ryan nomination to, for the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. It can be something you got at school, some sort of award. So mark those all down, okay? So hopefully you've got some things now on your list. So let's look at some examples, okay? And we're going to start with resumes. The one thing for all the resumes that I'm going to share is you'll notice they're one page. It's for actors, for sure. It's a one-page deal. Why is that? Because it needs to go on the back of your resume. So your back of your headshot. So this is my headshot. And you'll notice that when you print out your resume, it's not going to print out 8x10. Okay, it's going to print out regular. So what I do is I just then line it up with my picture and make sure that it all fits there. And then I staple it, shunk, shunk, and then I just cut around the edges. Okay. Back in the day when I was sending out a lot of these and I would, get a paper cutter and do it. But I find that it's the neatest when I just do it this way, right? And I just staple, and cut around the edges. Cool. Let's see if I can actually make this bigger. What? Oh my God, amazing. So that's what you want to do, okay? And your headshot is 8x10. So your resume goes like that. For designers, stage managers, directors, I've heard different things. Some people say they want to keep it to one page just because it's like all compact. And of course, there are going to be things that as your career, is going on, you're going to take stuff off. But If you can fit it on one page, that's great. Okay. Now, again, that's different than if you're going for a teaching job, if you're going for a waiter, if you have multiple pages, that's okay. But this is for the industry. Okay. And then I would also say for this resume for actors, staple it, don't print it on the back of your picture, because your resume is going to be, these are expensive, and your resume is going to change, or you might find you have a misspelling or something. And if you've already printed on this, you can't, it's expensive to change it. But if you do it like this, just rip this off, get another one and put it on. Okay. So don't print it on the picture. All right. So let's see. So here we go. I'm just going to show you that this is an old, I'm going to cover up this is my old agency. But one thing you're going to notice is how big my name is, and then the unions under here. And it looks like this is going to be easier if I just show you on the PowerPoint. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, I'm going to move my picture over here. Yay, actor resume. Okay, so here we go. You'll notice on mine here, Vanessa Mazzone, my unions and my website, which as I'm doing this, I don't know how updated it is. That's a good thing about doing these kinds of things. You're like, oh yes, I need to do this in my real life. Okay, so these are my agents, and I actually have an agent in Atlanta as well. So I list all those things here. And the reason why I have an agent is in Atlanta, for those of you who are like, well, how do you do that? It's because my best friend lives there and I can be considered a local hire, right? So actor resume. So one thing you'll notice I don't have on here for me is my height and my weight and my eye color and my hair color. A lot of people do, and you totally can do that if you want to. I don't put my weight on anything, but if you want to, that's totally cool. Or your height. Height would probably be the most important thing if you are going to do your kind of statistics there, because that's something they're going to need to know. But usually in a slate, when you're auditioning, you're saying your height. That's only for actors. It doesn't matter for designers, stage managers, or directors. But if you want to have those things, it used to be you did hair and eye color, but now that pictures are in color, we can see what your eyes and your hair are. So it's not as important. But I do notice that some people like to still put those in. And especially when you're starting out, when you don't have that much to fill your resume, that could be something that fills. Right, no address. Oh, you'll notice also I don't have my age on here. Another thing that only a few people know. And as an actor, you don't need to share that information. You could share your range, like, oh, I play 38 to 48. But you don't put it on your resume as an actor. Or in any case, you don't put your birth date on any of your resumes. Okay, so you'll see that mine has television, film, theater, improv, training, special skills and dialects, and languages. So you should have these categories, okay? And if you're primarily a theater person and you're going for theater, then start with theater. If your television is a little bit better, then put your television up there. When I was starting out, I didn't have any television or film, so I just wrote, I don't know what I wrote. I think I just wrote, I just didn't add it, right? So don't have it there. Just put the categories that you have something to fill, okay? This is the key though, for these columns, okay? You need to, here's the thing, when you're listing your gigs, right? In theater, we want to know the character. You'll see down here, theater, Tartuffe, Elmire. That's the character or the role. And then I did it at the Actors Gang in LA and a national tour. You could also put the director there, like I did down here, director Tim Robbins, director Brent Hinckley, director Jessica Kubzansky. So you can have the director as well, comma, and the company. Different stages in your career, you do different things, but when you're starting out, I would definitely have the director there, okay? And maybe your instead of the actors gang or the theater, you're having your school. So ELAC, ELAC, or USC, you know, whatever the school is, okay? And put your teacher, you know, for whoever directed you or guest director, put their name there, because when we look at resumes, when we get them in, we're like, it is a small world, right? We're like, oh my God, you know, Sabra Williams directed you. That's so cool. I know Sabra, you know, and so we'll, you know, that's a great thing for networking. So in theater, we have the character, and I put a little thing up here. So this is an example up here above my, underneath the title here. It says production. So you'd put the title of the play, the role, the director, and then the theater. That is one way. You could do 4 columns, or you could do 3 columns like me. You can make it your own, okay? Television and film are different. When you write, oh, you played Clara in The Light of the Piazza, we know what that means. Theater people know what that means. If you wrote Romeo and Juliet and you put Juliet, we're like, oh, we know what that means. Or we know The Nurse, we know what that means as theater people. In film and television, we're not really sure what that means, the character role sometimes, because sometimes we just don't hear it or things like that. So while that's important for IMDb, we go by credits in film and television. So television, you're going to go with series regular, guest star, co-star, or recurring. You've been in multiple episodes. For film, it's often lead or supporting, or if you're in a short, you want to show that. I do a lot of improv. I used to do a lot of improv in New York. So I have, you know, that on my resume. If you do voiceovers, maybe you want to do that. If you do a lot of commercials, maybe you want to do that. And training, okay? So this is what I think a lot of people will have, whether it's classes you took or a degree, the most recent. So you'll see I have Masters of Fine Arts in Acting at UCLA. You might have associated arts degree in theater, comma, East Los Angeles College. And then you could do parentheses, currently enrolled, or projected graduation, you know, 2023 or something like that. It's okay if you're not complete with your degree to put it on there. You're working towards your degree. And whether that's an AA, an AAT, a BA, a BFA, it shows that you're in a program. If you took classes but didn't necessarily get your degree, you can list them just like I did down here. Acting, and these are all the different acting teachers I've had. Shakespeare and classical, okay? Movement, and I listed teachers. You could do it differently. You could say, you know, improvisation, how I do improvisation, I have down here, the Groundlings, advanced level 4, okay? Who is your teacher? So you could have, you know, the Actor Center, or you took a class here, or here's an example, a commercial class, commercial technique, Killian's workshop, and then the teacher you had, okay? So it could be from the individual school. So that's, you know, classes or workshops, okay? If you did a 1 day, it's not like you really took a huge workshop. This is more like classes, scene study classes, things like that. Special skills. So I played varsity collegiate lacrosse, and I could still, if I were to pick up a lacrosse stick, you know, it looks like I played, you know. Martial arts, I did a lot of capoeira, acrobatics, swimming, golf, tennis. So this means that you should be able to do it tomorrow. Like if you say you play guitar, you can jam. If they're like, hey, cool, did you bring your guitar? Let's do it. If you say you can do, so dialects, you'll notice I have British, Irish, New Jersey, and New York. I'm from New Jersey, so that's kind of a given. I do know New York, lived in New York for a long time. I am a dialect teacher, and I only put British and Irish. I can, yes, brush up on a lot of dialects, but I'm saying unless you have done a show in this dialect, or you can teach this dialect, or you feel like you can really, you know how to break down this dialect, don't put it on there, because you want to be as honest as possible. There have been many times early in my career, I'd be in an audition and be like, oh, great, you have such and such on here, go do it. And you're like, So you want to make sure. And honesty is the best policy in resumes, okay? Because like I said, the world is small. So if you're like, oh, that's cool, you did a show with so-and-so. Oh, I'm really good friends with them. I saw that show and I didn't see you in it. Okay. So that is, and then I have online comedy sketches are down there. Special skills that you might have too are, if you drive a stick shift, that's actually a special skill. If you're doing commercials, they want to know that. Do you ASL? Do you know ASL? Do you so you'll see languages, I say conversational Spanish, but if you are bilingual, if you're trilingual, make that bigger than mine. Put it under improvisation, put it up top. You could say languages, make it its category. I also know a lot of people are now asking on their resume to acknowledge that they're vaccinated or vaccinated and boosted. So if you want to do that as well, I don't have that on there, but I know people are doing that. So columns, the show, the role or the credit, the director, and the either the network, the college. There are so many fabulous film schools out here that you might have done a short with. Put it on there. And if it's a short, you can do what I did, just short. You could write a short under it. Oh, this is a good one. If you have an Irene Ryan nomination from doing a show, what you could do is just go up to whatever show it's in. You can put a little asterisk, okay? And then underneath that category, put the asterisk and say Irene Ryan nominee. Another thing you'll notice I don't have on my resume is our years, because I don't want anyone to know how old I am, but also when you're starting out, if you want to put like the year that you did, the year you graduated, great, but you don't need to put years, okay? All right, so let's go to designers. Awesome. Designers, and I'm gonna make this a little smaller. Oops. Okay. Designer and director resume example. So this is, you can, again, there's no hard and fast rule. Okay. So make this work for you. Okay. This is my friend Jessica's. I took her name and contact info off, but she gave me permission to share it. And we work together at East LA College. And she runs the costume department. So hers looks a little bit different. She's a designer. Design your resume. If you're a set designer, it should look like, oh, you understand design. I'm an actor and they want it super, clear. They don't really want to think too much beyond like character, blah, blah, blah. But if you're a designer, this is a great opportunity to get creative with it, to make it look cool, to have nice fonts. I mean, this is gorgeous, right? And what you'll see is she has it organized in different categories. So education is up top. Related skills like draping, cutting, pattern making, fabric sublimation, millinery and crafts, hair and wigs. So depending on the designer that you are and what type of discipline you're in, there are different things for lighting, set design, skills. Okay, can you build certain things? Can you work particular, like in the computer skills, or can you work, what kind of equipment have you worked on? Things like that. Okay, I know here at ELAC we have some equipment that is super state of the art that we're training people on. And it's important for them to put that on their resume because that makes them employable, right? Then there's honors, awards, and publications. So if you wrote an article for something, that's really cool. You could put it down there. Any nominations, there's an ovation nominated for such and such. So this might be a way that you want to do your honors award and awards for even your theater. I mean, your actor resume. It looks really cool. And then we have here on the right, theater, costume designer, theme park, assistant costumer. And so she has it, her title, just like we would have our credit, and then the show. So it's a little flipped like that. And I think that's pretty cool. And then the different commercials and films. So lots of different ways to organize this. But I think if you're a designer, get creative with it. Directors, same thing. Okay, it would look more like this, where it's like you have the show, and then the company. Okay, the show and the company. If you directed, you'll have a category, theater director, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you then have assistant director and you list some of your assistant directing. Stage manager, same thing. You're gonna have stage managers. I was just working with a student's resume yesterday where it was like stage manager, and then all the shows that he stage managed. And then he actually did assistant stage manager, a category like that too. So you can do that. Crew positions. Light board operating, soundboard operating, if you did any of that. If you are a house management, you might want to do a resume for house management. Did you take a house management class at school? Have you run box office or front of house? Those are great skills. Do you need to put those on your actor resume? No. Unfortunately, if you took a costume design class, it doesn't, it doesn't really help for acting. So you want to keep your acting resume for performance-based stuff. So that's something to think about. Okay, and here we go. Awesome, hold on one second. Okay, so I think that covers everything. Computer skills, again, computer skills for designers, directors are important, stage managers for sure. But for actors, we don't need to have your computer skills on there. Photoshop, Illustrator, Costume Pro, digital and tablet painting. Those are all really cool things, okay? So, related skills, okay, that's great. Education, and the way that it's listed here, again, most recent, and then you could have dates if you're a designer, director. Actors, we don't tend to put dates on things, but it goes the highest degree and then the classes. And what I like about this too is that it's italicized. That's how they have identified the title of the show. You could have a capital, just some way that we know what is the title and what's the company. All right, moving on. So artist statement. I'm going to move this here. Okay, so I got this. I was Googling, and artist statements are basically, it's not your resume in a paragraph. That's a bio, okay? A bio is like, Vanessa Mizzone is a New Jersey native and who has made her career in comedy, acting, and teaching, right? And then you get into, most recently, she was in blah, blah, blah. An artist statement is, here's a good one. I like this one. Allison Segethi, who's a glass artist. Getting outside is good for the soul. Through my artwork, I try to bring the outside in. While I make no attempt to portray actual plants or animals, I do want my creations to look like they could have lived or grown somewhere. Living with beautiful objects that pay tribute to the natural world reminds us to slow down and helps us reconnect with nature. And then it might go on to say, Allison was, has been working on such and such here, and in this place, you can see their work on such and such place. So think about if you were to what is your artistic voice? What is it that you represent? I'm not sure I know anyone who's like, I love doing artist statements or I love doing bios, because it feels like a lot of pressure, right? How do I sum my work or my passion up? It doesn't have to be long. It's not an essay. It's a couple of sentences. Here are some examples too. Some tips. I got this off of the art league. Okay. And if you Google Art League 2015, I know it seems like a long time ago, but what they're saying hasn't really changed. You want to keep it short. Grab our attention. What makes you you? Okay. What is unique about you? What's your personality like? Okay. How can you infuse that into your statement? Why of the artwork? Use the first person. It's you. Okay. So use the first person. Summarize. You don't want to summarize your whole resume in your artist statement, but you might in your bio. That's what your bio is. Okay. It's like when you are giving all of the things that you've done in a recap. But things to think about. This is what I really like. What keeps you coming back to the studio day after day, or to the theater, or to directing, or to designing? What's the best way someone has responded to your artwork? Perhaps a comment, a review. What questions are you asked most frequently about your work? Perhaps that's something you want to address in your artist statement. And what's your story? What's your artist story? What is your voice? Who is your art for? It's also when you're starting out in your career, it's like, oh, I feel like I have to fit into this mold because I need to be this, this, and this, and I don't want people to know this about me. But that's your truth, and that's who you are. As an actor, in my 40s, I'm always like, oh, do I want people to know that I have kids, or do I not want people to know that I have kids? Because does that age me? Well, but you know what makes me me is that I'm a mom of 2 crazy kids. That makes me me. And so I own that now. That's who I am. I'm this person. And, I think that's what makes me employable. That's my authenticity. That's who I am. So whatever it is that you think, oh, I want to fit into this mold, I would say there is no mold. Be you and let that shine in your artist statement. Okay. Where are you from? East LA. I am a multi-hyphenated artist from East LA, and I like to do ba, 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 ba. I am a bilingual Latina student or Latinx student from East LA, and I really like realism, or, I'm really into physical theater or movement-based projects. What is it, if you could say what your jam is in a sentence or 2 or 3 or 4? Okay, that's your statement. What are you saying? What is your voice? Here are some resources. Feel free to reach out to me. Again, I am not an expert in this. I'm just doing it. I'm doing this on a daily basis. So if I don't know the answer, I could find it for you. Things are changing all the time. I find Backstage to be a great resource. This particular article, 6 resume basics actors must know, is really good. I feel like it's just really good points. I love this book, The Hollywood Survival Guide for Actors by Kim Jackson. I'm always like, oh, I should write a book. And then I read this book and I'm like, but someone already did write it. Like I wouldn't add anything. And even though it's an older book, it gives you like examples of resumes and different things like that, and the business and unions. And I just really like this book. So that's a good one. The Art League is where I got the artist statement information, and they have a lot of information on artist statements and tips. So that might be something. So we've got resumes, right? I'm going to stop sharing right now. We have resumes. We are going to just brainstorm and try and fit that in. If you don't feel like you have that much, I'm sure you do, at least start playing around with the formatting and the structure and the categories and your name. You have a name, you have a direct contact. Start playing around with it. I write mine on Word. Some people do it on Excel, but whatever you do it on, this is my big tip. I wish I was a little bit more savvy with this kind of stuff. And I could be like a big exclamation comes out when I say this, is when you send your resume to anybody, save it as a PDF. Save it as a PDF, because you spend all this time and line things up, make it perfect, and you're going to print it out and you're like, oh my God, it's not perfect. Go back, line it up again, spell check, have somebody else spell check it for you. Okay. Because you're going to be so used to it. You're going to be correcting it visually, but really there's a mistake. Directors' names, spell them right. Okay. It's great if you've got that contact, but if you spell their name wrong, things like that, spell check. If you've decided to do the titles and italices, make sure that's consistent, commas, things like that. And it's okay. There's no way that you could give it to other people to look at. But my big thing is to save it as a PDF, because when you email it to somebody after all that work, you basically want to make sure that whatever they open looks exactly like what you did. Okay. And if you just send it as a Microsoft or this or that, depending on their computer, depending on their programs, it's going to shift it and reformat it. So save it as a PDF. All right. I hope this was helpful. Again, this is just my 2 cents, but it's fun once you start doing it. And once you have that template, you're just going to always save it and keep changing it and keep changing it. And then being like, you know what? I've got so much stuff now. I could take off that student film that I did. I could take off that one class I took. You can start to filter, but always put the most recent thing up top in the category and then the oldest. So for instance, if I don't have my most recent thing here, but like for instance here, if I did Grey's Anatomy, that was my most recent thing, it's going to go here. The one that was the longest was Strong Medicine Ago. This is an old one, but so I just did Hentified. So that's the first thing. If I was in a show, the most recent show is first, play. And then the next recent, the next. So as you're reading it, it's most recent on top to the bottom. I should have said that in the beginning. My apologies. All right, that's our time. I hope you're still watching. If not, you could always fast forward. Thank you so much to CTG. Thank you. And I just give you all a lot of credit for doing this. I had a teacher that said, if there's anything else in the world you want to do, do it. And there wasn't for me. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And so don't find it overwhelming. Find it exciting. I do. Okay, bye.